Good afternoon. We're into the fourth week of lockdown, and the Navy Museum is obviously still closed to the public, but we're taking this time and the opportunity to take you through the museum on virtual tours. This is the fourth one, and you're right, today we're going to talk about the Wasp helicopter and its application and service in the South African Navy. And we're also going to look at the way that the Navy locally converted destroyers to carry the helicopter, the conversion of the President-class frigates to carry the Wasp helicopter. Tafelberg was also converted to carry the Wasp. Stick around, we're going to talk about this Trolley, or Paraffin Parrot, as it was also called. The story of the Wasp helicopter goes back to the early 1960s. At that time, the South African Navy possessed no ships capable of carrying aircraft or helicopters. The first helicopter deck landing on a South African Navy warship took place a few years earlier in 1957, when a South African Air Force Sikorsky S-55 landed on the quarterdeck of the SAS Good Hope, while the frigate was at anchor in Saldanha. The vessel's flight deck on the quarterdeck was a result of its conversion to a dispatch vessel in 1954 that added a large reception deck aft, allowing the landing of the helicopter. The Sikorsky was flown by Major Bill Tatham and based at Langebaan, where the S-55's main tasks were air-sea rescue duties to complement the SAF's crash boats, then based at Langebaan Lagoon. The rapid advances in submarine design and technology and the perceived threat of Soviet submarines rounding the Cape were a serious consideration for the defense planners during that time. Therefore, shipborne counter-offensive measures had to be improved drastically. The development of the helicopter and a steady increase in their application provided the answer, resulting in their inclusion to the ship's anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Plans were subsequently drawn up to convert two South African Navy ships into fast helicopter-carrying anti-submarine escorts. These ships were the two W-class destroyers SAS Jan van Riebeeck and Simon van der Stel. Both vessels were of Second World War vintage and then commissioned into the South African Navy in 1950 and 1950 respectively. Simon van der Stel was the first to be modernized and taken in by the South African Naval Dockyard in Simonstown in 1962 and recommissioned in 1964. Thereafter, work started on the modernization and conversion of the sister ship SAS Jan van Riebeeck. These locally designed conversions to carry helicopters greatly enhanced the anti-submarine capabilities of these two vessels and provided them with a new lease of life and service to the Navy. The conversions included the fitting of a flight deck and a hangar to accommodate two Westland Wasp helicopters. The British-designed Westland Wasp helicopter was a development of the Skeeter and a marine version of the Westland Scout general-purpose helicopter. The prototype of the Wasp first flew on the 20th of July 1958, while the first production example made its first flight on 28 October 1962. The Wasp was uniquely designed to operate both from the cramped and unstable facilities of a small warship. It had a folding tail boom and rotor blades, and a special four-wheel caster undercarriage which allowed the wheels to be adjusted to a 45-degree angle, adjusting it and assisting it to land on the pitching, rolling helipad in rough sea conditions. A single Rolls-Royce Nimbus turboshaft engine provided 710 shaft horsepower. It carried a crew of 2 plus 3 passengers in the back. While it was not very fast, Pilots described the helicopter as nimble and very responsive. Its weapon load was carried on two ventral attachment points, and as such it could carry two Mark 44 torpedoes or depth charges. The South African Air Force was the largest export customer of the Wasp helicopter and ordered no less than 17 of the type. The first initial batch of 6 arrived in South Africa towards the end of 1963, and number 22 flight was formed at Air Force Base Easterplaat in Cape Town. 22 flight became 22 Squadron in 1976. The South African Navy had also taken delivery of 3 Type 12 or President class frigates as part of the Simonstown Agreement between 1962 and 64. These anti-submarine frigates' capabilities were further enhanced when they were modernized and converted, fitting a hangar and flight deck. It is interesting to note that the Royal Navy's own conversion of their Type 12s also involved the fitting of Seacat short-range anti-aircraft guided missiles, but due to sanctions, South Africa was not able to purchase the missiles. On a more interesting side note, the South African Air Force's own Air Defence Artillery Group, or 250 ADAG, obtained the Tiger Cat, that is the land-based version of the Seacat, from Jordan in the mid-1970s. Nevertheless, the first frigate SAS President Kruger was taken in hand by the Naval Dockyard in Simonstown for the first conversion on 25 January 1968 and commissioned as a helicopter-equipped anti-submarine frigate in 1969. The SAS President Steyn followed soon after, recommissioning in 1971, with the third and last frigate SAS President Pretorius recommissioning in 1977. The third class of vessel that would carry the Wasp helicopter was the Heckler class hydrographic survey vessel SAS Protea. Protea, or the White Lady as she was called, was built and equipped with a helicopter landing deck and hangar aft, and operated both the Westland Wasp and Alouette helicopters. The helicopter greatly enhanced the capabilities of the ship and was utilized to conduct aerial surveys and place markers and beacons in accessible locations. Another vessel that would later carry the Wasp was the large fleet replenishment vessel SAS Tafelberg, which was first commissioned into the Navy in 1967. Tafelberg underwent a refit in 1975 in Cape Town, which included the construction of a flight deck aft of the funnel without a hangar to allow the operation of light helicopters, greatly improving her all-round capabilities. Tafelberg would again be converted in 1983 with a large helicopter flight hangar and deck, altering her appearance significantly. In this final configuration, Mama Tafis would carry all the SAF helicopter types then in service, right through from the Wasp to the big Super Freelon. The Westland Wasp helicopter was finally retired from South African Air Force and Naval Service in 1990, and by that time the 2 converted W-class destroyers and the 3 President-class frigates were no longer in service, while Tafelberg also decommissioned in 1993. It was only in 2007 that a dedicated maritime helicopter again became available, when 4 Westland Super Lynx helicopters were delivered as part of the weapons suite to the new Valor-class frigates that had just entered service then. While a number of Wasp helicopters were sold following their withdrawal from service, quite a number of them have been preserved and can be seen at the Air Force museums at both Swartkop in Pretoria and Easterplaat in Cape Town, as well as our own Navy Museum here in Simonstown. An ex-South African Air Force Wasp even ended up in the United Kingdom and was flown there for a number of years on the airshow circuit. In fact, there's a wonderful bit of cockpit footage of a Wasp being flown. Just click on the link that will follow at the end of this session. We've reached the end of another virtual tour. Not the real thing. We're really missing our visitors, our school groups, the real people. Missing you guys. Hope to see you soon. We need to get through this lockdown, and we'll get through this lockdown. But stay in contact with us in the meantime. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. Join our Facebook group. Visit our website. Until next time, bye-bye.